It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of April 30th, 1993. Kind of like yesterday, we're going to run through these pretty quickly because I have not seen any of these new movies that we have here, but well, we got to do something here. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and do it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and I use the word biggest in exclamation points because this thing barely made $2 million, so what wasn't really that big of a release, but it was the top grossing new release of the weekend, and that was the romantic comedy 3 of Hearts. So let me see if I get this straight. A lesbian hires her best friend to basically try to get her girlfriend back by falling in love with him. I'm really confused on how this works because for obvious reasons. And yeah, the trailer starting off like that I was really confused when I first saw the beginning of that trailer because I thought, is this actually kind of a thriller? Is this supposed to be something more like a dramatic thriller or something like that? But no, it's a straight up romantic comedy, and okay, I guess you can go in that direction, but I'm really starting to think that this plan that this girl had is not going to turn out well because something's amiss here, and something is not really like it's okay. This is such a confusing premise. I mean, this woman who's a lesbian hires her best friend to fall in love with her friend who's also a lesbian and convince her that heterosexual relationships are inferior to lesbian ones. And I don't know, this movie just feels like it was written by somebody who clearly has something wrong with gay people or just has no idea how gay and lesbians work and how they have relationships and everything, because this movie just feels so off on so many levels. I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it or really see why that is, but I don't know. I don't think this movie really had the right idea of what it wanted to be, and judging by the critical response for it, it's got like a polarizing 50 down the middle, 50%, 50% or something, like 53%. Yeah, 53%. And I don't know. Oh, by the way, I said it just made over $2 million. This thing didn't even hit $2 million. It only made $1.9 million. It was like about $85,000 away from $2 million. The thing couldn't even do that. Who knows? Maybe this is actually something that's is it actually maybe the trailer's not selling the movie the right way. Maybe the trailer doesn't really represent the movie itself. Maybe it's a great movie, but I've heard nobody ever talk about this movie. I've never even heard of this movie, so that should pretty much tell you what you probably need to know about it. But who knows? That's pretty much all I know about this movie in particular. Just a premise that doesn't really sound like it makes a whole lot of sense, and I'd never even heard of it up to this point, so that should probably tell you enough. And we could probably put the same things that are wrong with Three of Hearts on the trailer for the next movie that we have, Rick Moranis and Eric Idle in Splitting Heirs. Yeah, so kind of like Three of Hearts, this movie has a premise that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you really think about it. Like, nobody looked at Rick Moranis' character and realized that this guy does not seem like he fits in this particular family. It's just like it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in terms of a story wise, and a lot of people have said, I think not a lot of people, but I read here that Roger Ebert basically said that the roles should have been switched around. It should have been Eric Idle in the Rick Moranis role and Rick Moranis in the Eric Idle role. And honestly, I think that probably makes a lot more sense. Just the movie, this movie overall doesn't really look all that good, and I mean, Eric Idle can be really funny. So can John Cleese, who's in this movie, and it has a great cast: Moranis, Idle, Cleese, Barbara Hershey, Catherine Zeta-Jones, one of her early film roles. But yeah, this movie just doesn't really. It doesn't really look like the humor was also set for this. This looks like a movie that's maybe a British audience probably would have liked, but even then, I don't think the people in the United Kingdom really enjoyed this movie all that much because I don't think it didn't do a lot of big business. I think it barely crossed $5 million, which is not very good for a comedy like this. And what's interesting is that this director, Robert Young, actually did another movie with Eric Idle and John Cleese, which was a much better movie, in Fierce Creatures, which was kind of the sequel to A Fish Called Wanda. It had a lot of the same people on board in that one. And it's not, while that's not quite as good as A Fish Called Wanda, it's a lot funnier than anything that I've seen from this particular trailer. It actually is a legitimately funny movie. But we'll get to that whenever we get to 97. But as far as this movie goes, it just feels like this movie really didn't have the right motivation, the right script, or the right casting to make this work. It's a movie that could have been, I think maybe it's a trailer that definitely looks like something that could have been done a lot better. But just from that first trailer alone, I think they really, really missed the mark on this one. Again, who knows? Maybe the movie's actually kind of good. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Blood In, Blood Out. Or as it's called in the full title, Blood In, Blood Out, Bound by Honor. So the title of this movie was called Blood In, Blood Out. That was the original title. Disney basically changed the name of it to Bound by Honor because they thought the original title might incite some more violence in eastern Los Angeles. You got to remember, this came out a year after the LA riots, and the studio was concerned about the potential effect the film could have on Los Angeles following those riots, and also considering that the Rodney King civil rights verdict trial was going to be handed down around the same time this movie came out. So they actually delayed this film in LA until after the verdict came out, after May 21st. And basically they put this movie out and had no plans to release the film any further, as they thought that a crossover appeal with non-Hispanic audiences was not apparent. But really, when you really think about this, think about everything that was going on at that point. It was coming up a year after the LA riots, and not only that, you had to deal with the fear that more riots were going to happen because the verdict from the civil rights trial was going to come out. And they basically didn't even bother to think to themselves, maybe we should wait until after the verdict comes out and maybe wait a couple of more months before we actually put this movie out. They put this out knowing that they were coming out a year after the riots, and they knew that this was coming out around the time this verdict was coming out. So the movie was already destined to fail pretty much on that front. And even Taylor Hackford, the director of this, stated that he was very unhappy with the decision to change the title around, as he thought that the film's message was the exact opposite of the one that the studio feared could be transmitted. And it's just, it just doesn't feel like that was the right call on it. The right call wasn't made on any of these circumstances. And like I said, as far as the movie is concerned, I can't really comment on it too much, but I do know certain things about this movie, and judging by the stuff I've seen, I don't think this movie was even going to be... I don't think this movie's any good, because there are some lines in this movie that sound so ridiculous. I'm sorry, man. I can't take that line seriously at all. Like, I know it's supposed to be taken in a serious setting, but you have somebody saying, "White bitch, give me some chun chun." And you can't help but laugh at how silly and ridiculous that is. It's just like, it sounds so ridiculous coming out of his mouth like that. And the way he looks at this guy during that scene that I've seen online before, it's just like, come on, man. This was meant to be taken that seriously. But, hey, to the movie's credit, it has become a cult classic. It has had that cult following among the Mexican American community since its release, and there's an audience for it. And clearly, maybe I'm not seeing something here that they're seeing. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on it too much. But I don't know. It could be something interesting. It could actually be something kind of intriguing, but I haven't heard any real strong critical praise or even praise from other people about this movie in particular, so I can't really go off on it until I actually see the movie, which I will do at some point. I am kind of curious to see what this movie is like, so one day I'll definitely check it out, but I'm not planning on seeing it anytime soon. But that's just my initial thoughts on Blood In, Blood Out, or Bound for Honor. I guess they used both titles later on down the road, but so that's that movie. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The Night We Never Met. I mean, doesn't this movie seem like something that you would see on NBC? It'd be like something that airs after Friends or after Seinfeld as the next must-see TV hit. I mean, the premise sounds like a script for a TV series. Like you have these these three people, two guys and a girl. They get the same apartment. They have to share it through. They agree to get 2 days each a week, and you could just see the misadventures that would happen in between all three of these characters. And I don't know. I just never thought this was. I just didn't get the sense that this was meant to be an actual movie. Like this was probably something that was intended to be a TV series or something like that. And they got it blown up for the big screen. But interestingly enough, this director Warren Light, you may be familiar with because he did some. He actually is best known more for his work on Law and Order. He's one of the showrunners on Special Victims Unit as well as In Treatment. He also worked on the very underrated FX series Lights Out and also did Criminal Intent. So this is a well-known director. It's got a pretty good cast too. Matthew Broderick, Annabella Sciorra, Jean Triplehorn, Justine Bateman, Christine Baranski, Doris Roberts, Greg German, Louise Lasser, Billy Campbell, Lewis Black, Naomi Campbell, Bitty Schramm from Monk, Catherine Lloyd Burns from Malcolm in the Middle, Michael Imperioli, Gary Shandling's in this movie. So it's got a really strong cast. So who knows? It could actually be something pretty interesting, but I don't know. That trailer didn't really sell it for me. I don't know if it could. I don't know if it's just another one of those bad trailers for a good movie. But that cast alone and that director alone's got my interest peaked. So maybe one day I'll definitely check that one out as well. So that's The Night We Never Met. Now let's move on to the last movie, probably the weirdest title of all the movies that we have this week, and that is The Pickle. So Danny Aiello plays a film director who used to be a very powerful film director whose recent string of flops has forced him to make a commercial piece that is artistically uninspired. The absurdity of the film within the film satirizes big-budget Hollywood pictures, with the rest of the story serving as a character study of fictitious film director Harry Stone, which is who Aiello plays. And considering that this is directed by Paul Mazursky, who used to be a pretty prominent director with stuff like Moscow on the Hudson, Down and Out Beverly Hills, Enemies of Love Story, An Unmarried Woman, and he was kind of in the middle of that stretch of really bad movies. Kind of interesting that he makes this movie, but the movie was not a success, and he's never directed another film based off of his screenplay again after this one. The ideas look like they're here in this trailer, but considering I've never heard of this movie, chances are the movie is probably not any good, despite the cast that it has. I don't know. It could be something. It could be interesting, but I don't know. I don't think it's anything worth it. Mostly because I've never even heard of it until right now, and that's usually not a very good sign. So yeah, that's The Pickle for you. And with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We finally jump into the summer '93 season. A notable summer season in particular with the next episode we do. And we've got a couple of movies of noteworthiness, including Dragon, the Bruce Lee story with Jason Scott Lee, Dave from Ivan Reitman, starring Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver, Kenneth Branagh's star-studded Much Ado About Nothing, as well as American Heart. So, 4 movies to look at next time around, and we will look at those movies on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And before I go, I should tell you that as of the time of recording this, it is Thanksgiving Day 2022. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you have a great day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night for another video. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a great Thanksgiving. And until then, as always, take care.